on the Texas A&M Sports Network. From Learfield, welcome to the Aggie Football Hour, brought to you by Capital Farm Credit, a leader in agricultural financing. Also brought to you in part by Coors Light, Choose Chill, and Gig 'em Aggies. 2024 Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. Celebrate responsibly. Rudy's Country Store and Barbecue. Visit rudys.com to find real Texas barbecue near you. Twisted Tea, hard iced tea for the 12th man. Please drink responsibly. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Texas. Through it all. And by Capital Farm Credit. Together, we're better. Now, the Aggie Football Hour, brought to you by Capital Farm Credit, a leader in agricultural financing. Here's the voice of the Aggies, Andrew Monaco.
Howdy, Ags. We welcome you to Rudy's, and thanks for being here for the Aggie Football Hour with Mike Elko. It's presented by Capital Farm Credit. They're saying it's loud. Can I blame this on Kevin? Can I? Whatever it is, whatever's going wrong, I'm blaming it on Kevin. That's Jeanette. She's the A-team. Kevin is gone. He's got pneumonia, so unfortunately will not be with us this evening. Head coach Mike Elko
is
with
on
us.
The injury report? I don't know if we had him on.
We have to put him on there before we go to Florida, right?
Injury report.
Yeah, we're going to go upper body. It's actually pneumonia, but we're going upper body.
It's a good way to describe it.
That's exactly right. Coach, howdy.
Good. How are you doing tonight?
I am doing well, my friend. Terrific win, and maybe more importantly, you played a lot.
We did.
A lot of players on Saturday, which is always a good thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I think when you play those games, you want to handle them the right way, and I think we did that. I think we were able to play 85 guys, which is great. I think I read somewhere where we had like 30-plus guys have tackles in the game, and so, that's valuable experience. It's valuable experience for those guys, and we all know it's different when you get on Kyle Field for the first time and have to go out there and play at the level you need to play at to be successful, and so it's great. It was a great opportunity
for some of those guys. It was the first time, right? And that's what they have dreamt about, saying, okay, I want to go to A&M. And for some guys, a lot of hard work was paid off on that Saturday. It's not over, but a lot of that was there. And it really kind of, I don't know if justifies the right word, but you and I have talked, all that work in the dark, now I get to show it off there on Kyle Field. And they got to do that on Saturday. I thought they played well.
Yeah, they did. And you get into those games, and I said this at my press conference the other day, there's one-on-one matchups that obviously you expect to win, right? You expect to be able to run routes and get open. You expect to be able to cover their guys. Like, that's just a little bit of physical ability, and we knew we were the better team. But then there's some of the execution stuff that you're looking at, the footwork, the fundamentals, how you're running your routes, how you're targeting your run plays, what you're doing on defense. Like, those things carry over. And so I think I thought we made strides in a lot of those areas, and still a lot of work to do. But I thought we did make strides from week 1 to week 2.
Do you kind of look at technique in a game like that as opposed to result?
Yeah, I think you try to do that all the time, but I think, in a game like that, you could get skewed of, okay, we got the result that we wanted, but I do think, there's just a lot of intricacies that you can still see, even though you're the better team, even though you should handle your business. I do think there's a lot of things that you see when you watch the film and you watch it closely that can show improvement, and then some areas that you still need to get better at.
Are you seeing the tempo that you want to see for this team on offense?
I still think there's another level. Mm-hmm. I still think there's another level. I think, again, we made strides for sure, but I still think, and Colin would tell you this, I still think, we've played 2 games in 8 quarters in a brand new system, and so I still think we're a work in progress in terms of getting that to function at the level that we all want it to function at. But again, right, that's not to dismiss. There was progress, and there was a lot of progress made for sure.
McNeese wins the toss. Deferred. A&M got the ball on offense. It seemed like that A&M offense really wanted that ball first on Saturday.
Yeah, and we were taking the ball too. So
were you?
Yeah, we were. So we were going to get the ball first Saturday, no matter what. That was kind of our plan, and I think we had really, it went exactly to script. Our hope was to kind of do what we did, handle our business the way we needed to. We wanted to get Marcel in there early. We wanted to get Marcel an opportunity to go out there with the first string. That was important. We knew the first string wasn't, if we did it the right way, wasn't going to play very much into the second half. And so that's probably why we were a little quicker on the trigger with Connor, because we wanted to get Marcel reps with the guys he may need reps with to go out and win a game if that's ultimately what has to happen down the road. And so that was important, we felt like.
And Connor's a guy, he wants to play. But Connor's a guy who wants Marcel to succeed, right?
Yeah, for sure.
It's that mix of both. He'd play 60 minutes for you, right? Yeah. You know that. But you could see that joy for Marcel if you just look at 15 on that sideline, and all of them. And we'll talk about that a little bit later, but that's what you really like. Yeah, and I think that's part of, again, what do you take from games like that? Part of it is culture, right? I love the energy on our sideline as the game went on. To see Shamar Turner still heavily engaged in the game, in the fourth quarter, of that game in his fifth year, right? Like, those are things that show you the culture is good. The kids care for each other. They care for what they're doing. I think all of that stuff is evident and matters a lot. Yeah, and it's an opportunity. You can't replicate game speed for everybody, right? You can try on the practice fields. It's different in game, right? And then that's where the realization and sometimes the confidence comes from, doesn't it? Yeah, for sure. And as much as it's game speed, it's also like people think, they know what the effect Kyle Fields' crowd has on the teams that come in. Well, it still has the same effect on Aggies the first time they go out there, whether that's the first time ever or even the first time in a given season. It's a wow factor for sure. And so you see some of our young guys that you joke with them after the game, but they stand on the sideline and they're like, oh, that's easy. I'll just go out there. It won't be a big deal. And then you kind of grab them on Sunday and it's like, hey, how fast was your heart racing? And it's like, yeah, it was being pretty good, Coach. And so you just get through all that, right? You get through a lot of those moments, and it's good. It's good for everybody. I remember, I think, along those same lines, I think it was Cam Dewberry was put in at Alabama fourth quarter during the drive, and he came off the field and was like, man, it's really fast, it's really physical, but it's really fun. Like, that's what hits. Like, there's also, Mike, I'm a big believer in when you can say, I belong. That's also a confidence booster. I can play on this level. I can play with these guys. I can play with these teammates. I think that's a big moment for someone in their career. Yeah, for sure it is. And it's for a lot of the freshmen, if you just think about the true freshmen in this regard, like, how hard they work to become an SEC scholar athlete, how hard they work to become a football player at Texas A&M, and then bam, they're doing it, right? And then there's some guys, like you take a kid like Ashton Funk, who's a lifelong Aggie, right? He grew up in Kyle Field cheering for the Aggies, dreaming of playing for the Aggies, and now all of a sudden he's out there playing O-line for the Aggies, right? And it's like, oh yeah, like I can do this. I can do this really well. And so, a lot of those moments are really cool. That's really powerful. We'll have more about that win over McNeese. We'll also talk about Saturday's opponent. That is Florida. That's a 2:30 kick. 2:45 or 2:50 as well with a slide is that kick on Saturday. You can enjoy Aggie traditions with a great tasting cup of Community Coffee, the official coffee and freshly brewed tea of Texas A&M Athletics. Community Coffee, family owned since 1919. Discover more at communitycoffee.com. We'll come back to Rudy's, 504 Harvey Road here in College Station for the Aggie Football Hour with Mike Elko. It's presented by Capital Farm Credit. This is Aggie Football from Learfield. Ags, look out for opportunities this season for your chance to win Texas A&M prizes from the Texas Lottery. The Texas Lottery proudly supports Texas education and veterans. Play the Texas Lottery today. Scratch 'em tickets and gig 'em. It's the Aggie Football Hour with Mike Elko. It's presented by Capital Farm Credit. Alongside the greatest secret keeper in Texas A&M history, because you unleashed the 12th man kickoff team. Not telling anybody about that. And once again, that place went nuts when they came out. We like to surprise the fans a little bit, and so we always have a few tricks up our sleeve that we want to make sure we hold tight to the vest. But yeah, that was we had that group. That group had repped some in fall camp together, and we knew we had it kind of ready to go. And we felt like if there were opportunities throughout the year to let the group go out there and play, we always wanted to make sure that we tried to honor that tradition. And it was actually a great opportunity to do it. And I actually saw AC. He was like, I was standing on the sideline, and I saw AC, and I just happened to look. I go,
hey, come here real quick. I go, hey, get it out there that we're about to put the 12th man kickoff team out there. And so, in fitting Kyle Field fashion too, we pin them inside the 20, right? We kick it, we run down the field, the whole group, we pin them on the 19-yard line. It was great. The crowd went nuts.
Just outstanding. And see, my job is to keep my eyes on the field, right? But when that happens, I look to the sideline. That's why I said the joy for one another. That sideline was going nuts.
Going nuts.
For those 11.
Yeah, absolutely going nuts, right? And that's when you know culture's where you want it to be, right? It's that joy for each other. It's that togetherness. It's understanding that, we're here for ourselves. But we're also here to represent Texas A&M and some of the traditions that come along with that. And so it's cool, really cool.
You can't fake that, Mike. Either you have it or you don't. I'm convinced.
No, for sure. And we don't try to fake it. And that's why we try to be very genuine with how we do these things. We're very intentional about what we do for sure, but we don't make big hype noises about it, or we don't try to go out there and publicize it. It's not for recruiting purposes. Right. It's for us. It's for Aggies. It's for the people who follow this program. It's for the people within this program, and those things are really important. To
a slightly bigger picture in college athletics, as we move from 85 scholarships to 105 spots, right? Walk-ons have to be a part of that, especially at Texas A&M, correct?
Yeah, I think so. I don't. Trev and I have talked about this, and there's still so much to be uncovered with that. We just found out last week that there's more litigation going on, and so maybe that house case isn't going exactly where we thought it was going a month ago. But I think we've talked about the need to keep that tradition somewhat intact, especially here at Texas A&M, and obviously Trev coming from Nebraska, where it was such a strong tradition at that university as well. It has to have a place somehow, some way in our program.
That quick update is the judge not happy right now with the NCAA. NCAA will answer in the next 3 weeks. She's not happy with the way NIL, and for lack of a better phrase, the pay for play is right now. She can either accept, there's a lot of things here. She can accept the settlement from the NCAA or not. Right. People can put a lot of things, which is hard, Mike, because you're reacting to a lot of things and trying to settle this. You're going back and forth, right? Like tomorrow could be something else that comes down the pike. That's not always easy. You'd love to have it all settled, but it isn't right now, is it?
No, and I think that's why I've kind of refrained a lot of public comment on it, and even have deferred a lot of the questions about it, because we're so quick to report stuff like fact, and so there's a potential proposal for roster numbers. There's a potential proposal for these things, but none of that stuff is actually real yet. And so until that actually becomes something coming from the NCAA, something coming from the SEC saying this is actually the rules, it's really hard to try to figure out how to manage them or what we're going to do moving forward.
We'll continue with the Aggie Football Hour with Mike Elko. It's brought to you by Capital Farm Credit. And Capital Farm Credit is the largest agricultural lender in Texas. Capital Farm Credit, together we're better. We'll continue. We return to Rudy's. This is Aggie Football from Learfield. When you need a new roof or just have a pesky leak, you want to call on the winning team at Schulte Roofing, home of the Bulletproof Roof Guarantee. Get the best. Visit SchulteRoofing.com. We continue the Aggie Football Hour with Mike Elko. It's presented by Capital Farm Credit. So we're going to talk with the defensive guy now. Man, you had two freshman linebackers playing in that game. Jordan Lockhart, Tristan Jernigan, and they certainly looked like they belonged. I was so excited for them. They were something, weren't they?
They were, and I'll tell you what, they have amazing energy. And Tristan Jernigan brings energy every day to practice. I think he's gotten so much better from the time he showed up until now, and just kind of learning the system, learning how we want to do things, and he's going to be a great one. And then Jordan Lockhart is just a wrecking ball. He really is. He goes sideline to sideline, and then when he kind of unloads his hips on people, there's a lot of power behind it, and both of them are doing a great job on special teams for us and have really bright futures.
And that's the beauty of that. They will get more snaps on special teams than they will at linebacker, and they've got to make it count, don't they?
Yeah, for sure. And it's all playing football, and that's what we try to impress on the guys. They're all the same, right? And so if you can run down the field on kickoff and execute what we're asking you to do with good technique, or you can go block somebody on kickoff return, then those are reps that give us confidence that you're continuing to grow and get better. And then, ultimately there's going to come a point in time where some of those young kids are going to have to play this year and help us win, and they'll be more ready for it.
And that's the whole key. What's the old saying? It's you don't wait to play, you prepare to play. Saturday was preparation. part of that preparation.
100%.
Yeah.
No, it's 100%. And again, like there's no differentiation of reps, right? Like you go out there and you have to play, right? And again, there's at the end of the day, there's certain backs that are easier to tackle than others. There's certain wide receivers, right? And that's a reality. And for sure, that's part of the evaluation when you're trying to figure out who to play and all of that stuff. But like the ability to go out there and function within a defense and run what we're trying to get you to run, or run a play at the right speed, at the right tempo, like those things are on us. Like we control that. And in a lot of ways, those are the things that have to continue to get better than they did on Saturday.
And Trevante Citizen is no ordinary running back. I know he wrecked his knee at Miami, but this was a kid who had a lot of schools to choose from because of the knee injury, is at McNeese, but that is a D1 running back, is he not?
Yeah, he was. And he hadn't carried the ball much, so I was kind of hoping that wasn't going to be the game they brought him out, but sure enough, there he was out there running the ball. Yeah, he was a talented kid for sure.
You talked about this on Monday. The sacks aren't there, but the hurries are there for A&M. And is hurries just as important as those sacks, especially when it comes to timing for a quarterback?
Yeah, I think one of the things that is hard, and you have to make sure that you evaluate in the college game, is I think a lot of people can do things to speed up the quarterback rhythm to prevent sacks. And I think when you have a really talented defensive line and schools won't come in here and make a plan to sit in the pocket and push the ball down the field, then it's hard to get sacks. And so sometimes you're just watching the rhythm of the passing game. And if the rhythm of the passing game is sped up and the quarterback's not comfortable and things are collapsing around him, then you feel good about your pass rush. If the quarterback's sitting there and delivering the ball in the rhythm and timing that he wants to consistently all game, then you feel like you have concerns about your pass rush. And that's kind of a little bit more how we look at it. And there's been games, going back to my time as a defensive coordinator, where we've walked out of a game with 3 sacks, but maybe I didn't feel like we pressured the quarterback really well because we got 3 sacks, but the rest of the day we didn't hurry them, right? And then there's been games where like I felt like our D-line completely changed the game and didn't get any sacks, but the way the offense operated, the way they had to move, the way the quarterback's rhythm was sped up, he wasn't throwing balls on time, and you just noticed the way the rhythm of the passing game is going. And so I think that's what I meant. Sometimes it's just not sacks. Pressuring the quarterback is critical, right? Changing the rhythm and the timing of the quarterback is critical, and you can't be good on defense without it. But sometimes that doesn't always equate just to that 1 sack number.
And because of that pressure led to the 2 interceptions, didn't it?
Yeah, both of them. I think both of them, he got sped up on the one and delivered a high ball. Then Will Lee came away with the tip. And the second one, Solomon DeShields came off of a block and actually hit him as he threw. And the ball floated right to Marcus Ratcliffe. And so, I think pressure played a role in both of those turnovers. It usually does.
Yeah, and that's the key. You can't force turnovers, right, Mike? You can't go to try to be the hero, because as you've always said, 11 people have to be on the same page. You take one out, and that's usually where the disasters happen. So they did what they were supposed to do. That sometimes turns into turnovers, doesn't it?
Yeah, for sure. And I think turnovers happen a lot of different ways, and it's as important a part of the game from a coaching standpoint as anything that we do. And so part of it is how you call the game to try to create the disruption that leads to turnovers. Part of it is some of the science of causing fumbles. I think that's still something we're working on and getting better at it. Like, what are the right times? What are the right opportunities? How do you truly go about attacking the football and causing fumbles? And that's something there's an area for growth in for sure with our defense. And and then some of it's just making sure you have enough coverages where you got eyes on the quarterback so that you can get the interceptions when they present themselves.
You're trying to strip that football, and meanwhile running backs have learned, I've got to protect that football. That's the game within the game.
There's no doubt. No, there's no doubt. And it is. And we start most of our practices with some type of circuit work where we're trying to protect the football on offense and take the football away on defense. And that's obviously it's number one in our plan to win, and it's something that's really important. And it's not lost that, when you win the turnover battle, you win a lot of football games, and going on the road, it's going to be even more important this week.
And that's not just the running backs who do those drills. That's everybody who's going to handle that ball, isn't it?
Quarterbacks, tight ends, running backs. We have our long snappers doing fumble recovery drills. You're working your entire roster into those types of opportunities for sure.
We'll continue with the Aggie Football Hour with Mike Elko. It's presented by Capital Farm Credit. As we step aside, we'll return to Rudy's. This is Aggie Football from Learfield. Community Coffee is proud to be the official coffee and freshly brewed tea of Texas A&M Athletics. Family owned since 1919, Community Coffee has spent 5 generations roasting their blends right here in the USA. Discover more at communitycoffee.com. It's the Aggie Football Hour with Mike Elko, and it is presented by Capital Farm Credit. We'll put a bow on the win over McNeese. A couple of things jumped out at me that you talked about. Not a single lift was missed in the summer, and Le'Veon Moss made a comment about, I've never been in better shape in my life. When you start noticing things like that, we keep talking about gaining confidence. Yeah. That allows a player to gain confidence, doesn't it?
For sure. And I think the other thing that it helps too is we're still able to continue to practice at a high level, right? And so guys aren't coming out of the game really banged up. They're not coming out of the game needing to get back. And, so we're able to come out and have good Tuesday, Wednesday practices each week and still continue to push and develop and grow and be able to do that through the most part of the season. I think that helps too as you talk about continuing to get better every single week as the season goes on.
You had some guys sit out on Saturday. Will they be available for you starting Saturday in Gainesville?
Yeah. I think we should be really good. E.J. Smith was kind of a game-time decision. We've had him back. He's been rip-roaring, ready to go at practice all week this week. Scooby Williams will be back, and we're excited to get him back out there. I'm blanking on, there was one more, and I'm blanking on who it was.
How happy were you to see Jabri Barber out there?
That was a nice one. So, yeah, we're still, unfortunately still trying to work him through some load management stuff because he obviously hasn't been able to run an awful lot. But it's good. It's good to get him back out there, get him on his feet, and then just kind of start to break him back in for the back half of the season.
And excited to see 18, Donovan Green. It's been a long road for Dono, hasn't it?
It has. And he's such a great kid, and he works so hard. And unfortunately, he's still just kind of trying to get back to the form that he knows he can be. And he continue to work and continue to have good weeks. And he had a better week this week. And but he's just trying to get that knee back moving the way he's comfortable moving and the way he used to before the injury. And so we'll continue to work him through that process.
Does it help that it's such a talented tight end room that he does not have to rush back and not be himself? Because you told all of us, you kind of wanted him to know, hey, in your mind, you want to be the Donovan Green of old. It's going to take a little. You're going to get there. It's going to take a little while. But you got a lot of talented tight ends. That's a deep room, deep and talented room, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And it's competition for sure. And I'm sure Dono would tell you he wants to be back now. And that the deep room doesn't matter because he's, that's every kid's mentality. Yeah. And it should be.
Right.
But yeah, certainly, again, that was the beauty of the transfer portal additions was making sure that we had the roster balance that we needed, the depth at positions that we needed so that we were able to fill the roster in a way that we could overcome things as they popped up, right? And so, Donovan Green doesn't get back quite the way he wants to or as fast as you want him to, but you've added, 2 talented players to the transfer portal that can step in and help you make plays.
Yeah, Trey Watson, Shane Calhoun being a ton of them, and Theo gets his first catch as an Aggie.
Yeah, it's great. Well. He continues to get better every single week, and that's another kid that we got a lot of confidence in and then has been able to kind of elevate himself as the season's gone on.
And it's so funny because we as fans are like, wow, the tight end and the catches, you focus on the catches. They're the 6th offensive lineman. It's very similar to running backs, right? You've got to be a complete tight end as well, don't you?
No, for sure. And obviously a big piece of the tight end is being able to stretch the defense and stress them in the passing game. But you also, can play a critical role in what we're doing in the run game as well. And so finding that balance and finding the ability to do both is critical.
Did that O-line get better as well in week number 2?
Yeah, I think so. I think we're continuing to take steps to be in the offensive line that we want to be in. And again, it's little things that I notice, right? It's we run the ball and our offensive line races to get that guy up, right? Those are little things that we talk about, but our ball carriers should not pick themselves up off the ground. Our offensive line should pick them up off the ground. And those, to me, are just mentality things, right, that you're trying to build and establish in your program. And so I think little things like that I noticed showing up a lot more. And, that's what you want. When the defenders or around your guy. You want the O-line to be the ones to separate that and get our guy. And you see that more and more each time we go out there, and hopefully that just continues.
Same thing with seeing Armajé Reed-Adams and Chris Basantis with their block 11 yards down line, right?
Yeah. So it's one of the things there's a lot of things I love about Coach Cushion and the job he does with our offensive line, but we start every Thursday practice with basically just what we call a drive drill, but we just basically push a lineman down the field, and at the end of the drill he just blows a whistle and it's a shove on the finish, and everyone's yelling finish, right? And that's just how we start Thursday practice with the offensive line. And it's mentality, right? It's just building a mentality that's going to be the heart blood of your program, and the best programs in the country are really, really good on the offensive line, and I think we're continuing to move in that direction.
That line can help to get better by going up against that defensive line every single day. They're challenged every snap, aren't they?
Yeah, for sure. And it's the competitiveness that you want, and now you get into the season, and you're still kind of working a little bit of that good on good stuff. You're still getting yourselves into certain situations where you can stay sharp and continue to work against each other, and the better your overall talent within your program, obviously all of that stuff increases and elevates. It's like the missing ingredient to these championship level programs. Everyone talks about the front line, but it's the quality 1 through 85 that makes every day a competition, makes every day you have to elevate your game, and that's still where we're pushing to get our program.
You want to start on Saturday. It's what you're doing Monday through Friday, correct?
For sure, and that's where a lot of, everyone talks about the accountability, the discipline, all that. I joke with people all the time. The best thing that we have is what I call the splinter effect, which is if the kid fears the splinters in his rear end, he'll do things a lot more in line with what you're asking. If he knows he's going to be out there on Saturday, sometimes he makes his own decisions on the way things should go and the way he should do things. So
I'm going to take a break after that.
That's a good one, isn't it? You like that one?
Yes, very much so. Yeah. He is Mike Elko, head coach, Fighting Texas Aggies. We'll continue the Aggie Football Hour with Mike Elko. It's presented by Capital Farm Credit. We'll preview Florida. We'll start previewing the Gators when we return. It's Aggie Football from Learfield. Come visit Costa Vida in South College Station for Baja-style Mexican. It's made from scratch daily, serving breakfast tacos, lunch, and dinner. Aggie-owned and operated. That's our friend Holly, and a proud partner of Texas A&M Athletics. Let's turn our attention to the Florida Gators. The Aggies' opponent on Saturday, 2:30 is the kick from Gainesville. And bigger picture, first, how do you prepare for two quarterbacks? Because Graham Mertz got hurt in week 1, a concussion. DJ Lagway played last week, and it almost feels like week 1, like you're going to have to adjust to whomever goes out there.
Yeah, I think so. And you really can't get a good plan on how they're going to utilize them both. You're hearing a lot that they're going to play them both in the game in some capacity. And, you just do the best you can to kind of predict skill set wise what parts of the offense fit each kid, and kind of have a plan in your head of how you want to leverage the defense based on who's in there. And at the end of the day, though it does play out like an opener where it's like, okay, now you start to feel a rhythm of what's happening, and you try to make the adjustments along the way.
You have a young man who's got so many snaps in the experience in Mertz at Wisconsin, and you got a dynamic quarterback in DJ Lagway, who the Aggies were in on. He's right there from Willis. He's an exciting kid, but doesn't have that kind of experience, but he can do electric things, can he?
Yeah, for sure. And then that's the age-old, head coach debate, right, is you've got a kid who's very young and very talented, and a kid who's very experienced and I'm sure knows the offense at a really high level and has a ton of snaps and reps in it. And so, I'm sure that's why they want to find ways to get both of them on the field.
I had asked you before the Notre Dame game, I said this feels like a conference game, but it wasn't a conference game. Saturday's going to be a conference game in that, as you know, SEC talent, SEC size, SEC speed. It's different than anywhere else, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And SEC environments are different than anywhere else too, right? And so we're going down to the swamp, and then that's obviously going to be a challenge. And as soon as you cut the tape on, you see the size, the twitch, the athleticism, both sides of the line of scrimmage. And, it doesn't take long to remember that you're in the SEC when you get back into this league.
Yeah. Can you also, Mike, prepare for possible weather on a Saturday, and that there could be lightning, it could be wet, something like that. Can you I know you can't do all scenarios, but can you possibly prepare for something like that?
Yeah, I think you do a little bit. I think, you can kind of overdo a little bit the lightning stuff. I think we have internal plans from a nutrition standpoint, from how do you get the boys warmed back up if you go into a lightning delay, and what does all that look like? And so you have a lot of those conversations internally, so you know what the plan is. I don't know that you can prepare the kids for that. You just want to make sure we know what we're doing before it kind of springs on you. And then in terms of wetness, you try to get out regardless of weather conditions most of the time. And so your quarterbacks certainly have thrown wet balls. We've carried wet balls, and so those things help.
Yeah, it can affect the snap. It can all that type of thing. They have really spread it out, has Florida, on their offense. A ton of different receivers, but Eugene Wilson is their guy, number 3, is he not? He seems to be the favorite target of their quarterbacks.
Yeah, Eugene's special. He really is. I mean, he's we talk about like blue dot stars, and he's a blue dot star for sure. And this league tends to have a few of those, but he kind of stands out to even be above and beyond that. And so we spent a lot of time watching these guys in the offseason, and he had a great freshman year, and certainly off to a good start so far this year. And they find a lot of creative ways to try to get him the football, so we got to be ready for that.
It's one thing to be that number 1, right? For that one, it scares you because the number 2 can then go because you're putting so much focus. But when that number 1 is special and is still making those grabs, there's a reason why guys like that go to the NFL, right? Because they're really made of something.
Yeah,
I'm not sure you can teach. They usually have it. You just keep on getting better.
No, for sure. And they had Ricky Pearsall last year, who was a first-round draft pick, and that certainly was a good complementary piece to go along with it too. And and then they were able to go out in the transfer portal this year, and they had a couple guys, one from Wisconsin, one from Arizona State, who played really good football too. And so, you want to pay attention to the star, but you also can't do it at the complete expense of everybody else on the field, because they got a lot of weapons that could hurt you.
You brought up Montrell Johnson too. They're running back. There you go, 5'11", 220, right?
Yeah.
Just
back in the SEC, baby. Back in the SEC, baby.
Was it that much different in the ACC?
I don't want to make it. I don't want to.
And I'm not trying to say compare,
no, but what I would say is this: there are obviously really good football teams and really good football in the ACC. There is. But I think when you just talk about like height, weight, speed, and what the size athleticism looks like, it's different in this conference. It just is.
Yeah.
And it's not to say that there aren't NFL players or really talented teams. Of course there are. But when you just go player by player, I told somebody this story, like the first year, it hit me the first year I was in this league. I was talking to Will Johnson about this the other day. And so we were playing Ole Miss that year, and it was at the end of the year, and I think Ole Miss was like 1-6 in the SEC. And so you're going in and like, okay, this is the one we've got to win this one for sure. Like, this is the last place team in the conference. And then you put on the offense, and there's DK Metcalf, and there's AJ Brown, and there's Kenny Knox, and you're like, oh, okay, like I don't really see the drop off, and so there's so much talent across the board in this conference, and everybody has players at that level that you got to be ready for.
It makes me chuckle that we would play Mississippi State, and everyone wants to talk about the Mike Leach offense when he was there, and then you look, 3 defensive linemen were drafted by the
right, and most of them in the first round, and so it's just it is. There's talent everywhere in this conference, and so I think that's why road games are so hard to win in this league. That's why wins in this league come at such a premium, and you better bring your A game every week, regardless of record, opponent, whatever, because it just means more.
And it really does. And isn't it interesting? We always say, because we look for on the other side, but I'm sure there in Gainesville they're going, man, have you seen the size of that A&M defensive line? Have you seen, you know what I mean? Like
it's both sides.
It's all 16 teams, isn't it?
We're certainly not hunger starved for talent. We have great height, we have great athleticism, and we talk about that all the time in our building. We respect the teams we play for sure, but at the end of the day, we've put ourselves in position with the talent we have on our roster and the work that we've put in. We control the outcome of the game based on how we play, and if we can go down there and we can play our football the way we know how to play it, we're going to be successful. And if we don't, then we're going to be at risk, and that's just kind of the story of our season every game.
One final segment of the Aggie Football Hour with Mike Elko, presented by Capital Farm Credit. Come on back. This is Aggie Football from Learfield. Rudy's is a proud sponsor of Aggie Football. Be sure to stop by your local Rudy's or visit Rudy's.com for some real Texas barbecue. Enjoy 100% oak smoke meats, delicious sides, and Rudy's signature sauce. I did not forget. Apex, North Carolina's checked in.
Apex, North Carolina checked in every week. Worrying what's going on with our Facebook stream.
Yeah,
so
down. Our camera went down, so we'll do that. What we're doing is we're going to marry the audio and the video, and it will be back up. You'll be able to see it. Obviously not live, so unfortunately, you had to get all the questions from me for this hour.
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. I have already given my wife the phone number of our technical directors, so she'll be reaching out.
Gotcha. Are you also invoicing for being director and producer? Between you and AC, he's cutting cameras. You're knowing when we're doing the bridge. You're knowing a little bit too much.
Well, listen, I got to keep my eyes open and make sure everybody's on their toes around here. That's important.
He's running the entire program. That's what he said. He's building one, so definitely doing that. And I always want to come back to that. And I think, Mike, even when you're where you want to be, but was last week a step towards building that program for you?
Yeah, it's a step, and we're not going to overdo it. It was a step, and we still have a lot more steps to take. And it's not about just putting a team together that can win on Saturday. That's important, that's critical, and we've got to do that. But we want to build this program in through the whole infrastructure, and I think that's something that we've got to be really cognizant about. And I think you can't skip steps along the way as you build that, so that finally we can get a foundation here at Texas A&M that can establish, that can withstand seasons, that can be consistent over time, and ultimately can elevate this brand to what we all want it to be, right? To be one of the premier programs in the country. And so that takes time. You can't just snap your finger and get there.
You can't. So one of those steps is winning on the road, is it not?
That is a big one. I've been told that's critical this week. But no, it's part of it, right? If you want to compete to be a playoff team, you're going to have to find ways to go into hostile environments and win football games. And the friendly confines of Kyle Field can be there for you always. But we're going to have some games that we have to go on the road this year and find ways to get results. And Saturday's going to be a great test.
But when you have those 85, and I'm just throwing that number out there, when you have that and there's cohesive and that's all you have, when you're supporting one another, that can carry you on the road, can it?
No, you need it because there's going to be times where it feels like the whole thing is getting away from you, right? That's part of playing these road games. Is at some point they're going to make a couple plays and that crowd's going to get going and it's going to feel like a freight train running away from you, and the only thing you have in those moments is each other, right? And you've got to be able to look each other in the eye and have confidence in who you are and what you're all about together, to kind of persevere through those moments.
Beat the hell out of Florida Saturday, Coach.
That's the plan.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you guys for coming out tonight. Thanks and Gig'em. Appreciate y'all.
Head coach Mike Elko. Saturday, we join you 1:30 pregame show. It's presented by St. Joseph Health. We will have a conversation. Will Johnson's going to talk to Marcus Ratcliffe. He will be one-on-one. We'll hear from Connor Wigman. We'll hear from Amari Daniels. We will hear from Shamar Stewart. And we'll have Dave Elmendorf and his keys on Saturday. That's 1:30. 2:30. That's when everyone's going to come on the air, but the kick will be about 2:45, unless there's a 5-minute slide, and then that kick will come at 2:50. Foot to ball, as Alan Cannon always says, the Aggies and the Florida Gators on Saturday. Jeanette Menchow has been our engineer here at Rudy's. Tony O'Neill is the producer. The Aggie Football Hour with Mike Elko, presented by Capital Farm Credit in our Learfield studios. For head coach Mike Elko, I'm Andrew Monaco. Thank you all for being here. This is Aggie Football from Learfield.